What if I told you that reaching $50,000 in savings doesn't just increase the number in your bank account, but actually changes how your brain works? What if this specific amount triggers a mental shift so powerful that it permanently alters the way you think, behave, and make financial decisions? Most people assume $50,000 is just another checkpoint on the road to wealth, but they completely overlook what truly happens at this level. This milestone represents a fundamental transformation in your relationship with money, and the effects are far deeper than most people expect. My name is Nick, and I spend an unhealthy amount of time studying the psychology of money and trying to understand why some people build wealth while others remain stuck in financial struggle. If you're someone who wants to understand what really happens when people cross major financial milestones, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button if this video changes the way you think about your savings goals. Here's what most people don't understand about hitting $50,000 in savings. They believe it's simply about having more money available, but that's like saying a butterfly is just a caterpillar with wings. Technically correct, but completely missing the transformation that made it possible. The jump from having a few thousand saved to reaching $50,000 isn't gradual. It's not like walking farther down the same road. It's more like learning how to fly after spending your whole life crawling. The first major change that happens at $50,000 involves something psychologists call your locus of control. Before this point, money controls you. You wake up checking your bank balance with anxiety. You mentally calculate grocery costs before stepping into the store. You avoid opening bills because you're afraid of what you'll see. But once you reach $50,000, that dynamic flips. You stop being controlled by money and start controlling it. This isn't just motivational talk. There's real research behind it. Studies show that people with meaningful savings experience significantly lower financial stress and anxiety. We're talking about real changes in cortisol levels, sleep quality, and overall life satisfaction. It's as if your nervous system finally relaxes after years of constant tension. The background noise of financial worry fades away, sometimes without you even realizing it was there in the first place. What's especially interesting is that the psychological impact of $50,000 has very little to do with the number itself. What really matters is crossing what researchers call the security threshold. This is the point where your brain stops viewing money purely as a survival resource and begins to see it as a tool for opportunity. Think about it like this. With $500 in savings, losing your job is a disaster. You're weeks away from serious trouble. With $5,000, you might survive for a month or two. But with $50,000, job loss becomes an inconvenience instead of an emergency. Your brain recognizes this shift and adjusts how it makes decisions. You start acting from a place of abundance, rather than scarcity, even if $50,000 doesn't feel like abundance compared to what wealthy people have. This mental shift triggers what I call the confidence cascade. When money stress disappears, decision-making improves across every area of life. You negotiate raises more confidently because you're not desperate. You take smarter risks because you have a safety net. You sleep better, which sharpens your thinking, which leads to better financial choices, which helps you build even more wealth. It becomes a powerful upward cycle that accelerates once you pass this milestone. But there's something most people don't warn you about. Reaching $50,000 can actually be risky if you're not mentally prepared. That might sound strange, but hear me out. Financial advisors often see people sabotage themselves after hitting a major milestone. They start spending more because they feel rich. They loosen their saving habits because they think they've already succeeded. They upgrade their lifestyle simply because the money is there. This is what I call the $50,000 trap. And it destroys more financial progress than market crashes or unexpected expenses. Your brain, after years of operating in scarcity mode, suddenly sees a large balance and thinks it's time to celebrate. The same mental shift that can accelerate wealth can also completely derail it if you're not aware of what is happening. The people who successfully move beyond $50,000 and continue building wealth all share one key trait. They understand that $50,000 isn't the finish line, it's the starting point. Until this moment, you've been playing financial defense, just trying to survive. Once you cross this threshold, you finally get to play offense. This is where investment psychology changes dramatically. Before $50,000, investing feels terrifying because every dollar feels essential for survival. But once you have a solid emergency fund, you can tolerate calculated risks. Market downturns stop feeling like disasters and start looking like opportunities. Even the math feels different. Earning 5% on $5,000 gives you $250 a year, which doesn't change much. But 5% on $50,000 generates $2,500 annually. At that point, compound interest stops being a theory and becomes something you can actually feel working. What might surprise you most is that the $50,000 milestone isn't really about money at all. It's about who you become while saving it. For most people, accumulating this amount takes years of consistency and discipline. You've had to say no repeatedly. You've had to stick to your plan through job changes, emergencies, and market volatility. You've trained delayed gratification to an extreme level. The person who saves $50,000 is fundamentally different from the person who started with nothing. They've built financial discipline that most people never develop. They understand wants versus needs on a deep level. They've learned to enjoy watching numbers grow instead of buying more stuff. Their brain has been rewired to find satisfaction in progress rather than consumption. This identity shift affects far more than just finances. People with significant savings make different career decisions. They negotiate more aggressively, pursue better opportunities, and even start businesses. The reason is simple: they have agency. They aren't trapped by circumstances because they have options. That quiet confidence comes from knowing you could walk away from a bad situation if necessary. From a behavioral economics perspective, another major shift happens at this level. Instead of focusing on cutting expenses, people begin focusing on increasing income. This change is crucial because there is a limit to how much you can save by cutting costs. But there's virtually no limit to how much you can earn. It's like the difference between shrinking yourself versus growing stronger. With financial security, opportunities start appearing everywhere. That side project no longer feels dangerous. That expensive certification becomes an investment rather than an impossible cost. You gain what I call strategic patience. Decisions no longer feel urgent. You can afford to wait, plan, and invest in things that take years to pay off. Research also shows that people who reach major savings milestones influence others around them. Their improved financial habits spread socially. They suggest affordable alternatives. They normalize smart money decisions. Their confidence is visible, even when they don't talk about money. They become proof that wealth building is possible. But this journey also brings uncomfortable social changes. Friends and family may start treating you differently. Some expect advice, others assume you should always pay. You may become more selective about who you spend time with, not out of judgment, but because mindsets no longer align. Dating dynamics shift too. Financial values start to matter more than shared hobbies. Conversations about money become essential rather than awkward. Compatibility now includes financial behavior, not just personality. Another unexpected change is what I call healthy wealth paranoia. You become more cautious about anything that threatens your progress. You question risky opportunities. You read the fine print. You become skeptical of quick wins because you know how hard building wealth actually is. At this level, investing stops feeling like gambling. You develop the emotional strength to handle volatility. Market crashes become chances to buy, not reasons to panic. You finally understand how wealth compounds over time, not just intellectually, but emotionally. Your career mindset changes too. Jobs become choices instead of traps. You can make strategic moves, take pay cuts for better opportunities, or invest in education. You shift from avoiding failure to pursuing growth. Ironically, having more money often makes people feel guilty. You notice others struggling and wonder if you're hoarding resources. Some people overspend or lend irresponsibly because of this guilt, while others become overly secretive. But financial stability doesn't harm others. It reduces dependence and increases contribution. Perhaps the most profound shift is how you perceive time. When you live paycheck to paycheck, your focus is entirely on the present. Savings create long-term thinking. You start planning in years instead of weeks. Decisions become strategic rather than reactive. Spending behavior also changes. You become more selective, not cheaper. You judge purchases by value and opportunity cost rather than affordability. You spend intentionally on what matters and cut ruthlessly on what doesn't. At this point, investing becomes more sophisticated. You start understanding asset allocation, taxes, and long-term growth, not because you want to be an expert, but because it finally matters. $50,000 isn't just a financial milestone. It's a psychological gateway. It changes how you think, decide, and move through life. And if you're working toward it, remember this: the real reward isn't the number itself. It's the person you become while reaching it.